Good evening. It is happy birthday time for Revelation TV. 21 today. 21 years ago, myself and many others that you've probably seen throughout the time have come, and some have gone and some have come back, and that's the way it's been. But we've managed to get this far by the grace of God, and we're going to be looking tonight at what the future is for Revelation TV, and what we think it is. You know, obviously God has got to step in and have his way with Revelation TV. But we just nevertheless, as leadership, I've got Gordon Pettie, who's with me tonight, the main trustee with all the money, in the sense that he looks after it very carefully.
Don't say all the money.
No, it did come out the wrong way. But Gordon, you are responsible, very responsible. It's hard to get you to spend the money. I don't mind admitting that. So you say, what's it for? How much is it?
Yeah.
When do you need it? What, etc., etc. Do you really need it? That's always the question. Is that right?
But it works, and it's enabled us as a TV station 21 years on today to be in a position where we've seen the Lord provide. And as we say almost every time we talk about money, we don't have any debt, we don't have any borrowing.
Incredible.
And God has honoured us, and no mortgages or anything like that. When we have to pay a bill, then we're trusting that the money is going to come in, and amazingly it does.
Yeah, it is incredible.
Praise God.
Well, another member of the team, really, sitting to my right is Tim Vince. And Tim, thank you for joining us again this evening. And you and I go back even before the days of Revelation TV, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. It was. I don't know exactly the year, to be honest, but it probably was a couple of years before.
Yeah, it could have been around about 2011 or even before that, because we knew that. Yeah, I think things were happening in, with the terrorists.
That's right. The common point of connection was Israel, because I was doing a newspaper at that time.
That's right. What was it called?
Israel and Christians Today.
Yeah, right.
Sent out to church leaders. Yeah.
Good for you, mate. No, we had the same heart and understanding from Scripture about the importance of Israel.
Yeah.
And we've been faithful ever since, I think, in that regard, and so has Gordon as well. It's quite amazing what the Scriptures have to say about Israel, and we know there are a lot in the news and have been maligned and all sorts of things. But anyway, tonight's not about Israel in that sense. It's about what we've done to actually help and tell the truth about that and spread and counter the lies about Israel. Remember Netanyahu saying that to me when I wanted to actually make an impact with the Revelation TV, because at that stage in 1999 when I was interviewing Netanyahu, we hadn't started Revelation TV, and I needed something to hang on as a purpose and a vision for Revelation TV, and it was to...
I mean, a key word in what he said to you was truth, because you said to him, what can we do to help Israel? And he said to you, tell the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what Revelation has sought to do, and particularly in the world in which we live at this moment of time, and the country in which we live, telling the truth is a hard thing to do, because it's not a view that people want to see. And I think every day on our TV screens currently at the moment, we're seeing horrendous things that are being said and done to those people who stand with Israel.
Yeah. So it's an important part that we play in the big picture of what God is planned for Israel as well, and also for us, for the new heavens and new earth. And we're coming to a time, I believe, and many of us do here at Revelation TV, that we are close to the return of Jesus Christ, the Messiah. Right, so what I would like to say is that the vision, we talked about that in Habakkuk. We've used this many times before. And if you put that scripture up for us, dear crew, then maybe Tim, you'd read that for us.
Okay. Then Habakkuk 2, verses 2 to 3. Then the Lord answered me and said, write down the vision and inscribe it clearly on tablets, so that one who reads it may run. For the vision is yet for the appointed time. It hurries toward the goal, and it will not fail. Though it delays, wait for it will certainly come. It will not delay long.
Very good. And we've
That's
always...
quite an amazing thing, because it's, in other words, we're not in control of the vision.
Yeah.
It's God's vision.
Yeah. But it's interesting, write down the vision, and some people have despised small beginnings. Revelation TV has really been a small beginning, has it not, Gordon?
Very much so. I mean, I was just thinking, Habakkuk means clinging onto. And I think what Habakkuk was doing was clinging onto God in a world where people didn't want to know what the vision of God was. And in a sense, we're like that in our own country today, because people want to go their own way. We would say they want to go their own sinful way. And we're trying to maintain the straight and the narrow. And that's what Habakkuk was trying to do.
And you know, all the great stories of faith are those that don't yet have it, as it were. They you know, the promises aren't there. They believe them in faith, and Habakkuk believed in the promises. Though the fig tree does not blossom, there be no fruit on the vine, the produce of the olive fail, and the field yield no fruit. There's a lot more.
Comes through.
Yet will I rejoice in the Lord.
That's it. He will trust on
him. Trust in him.
Exactly.
You know, because it always what looks impossible to God, to man, is impossible to man, but is possible with God. And that's he comes through every time. And he certainly has done that for Revelation TV, along with your good selves. And tonight, as we're going to share the vision for the future as well, I wanted to start with something that starts with the whole of the history up until the very point we're at right today almost. And so I'd like you, the viewer, especially those who are supporting us financially, this is very important, I think, for you to have a watch of this, and then we're going to talk about the vision for the future and what we think it is, because God has a plan, but we don't always quite see it as clearly until it starts to unfold. So we'll be looking at some of the options that we have as well, and the product that we're doing. What is Revelation TV's future? Have a look at the past, and it's why I started Revelation TV.
Here we are in Cleveland Street, in the City of London, in the shadow of the imposing British Telecoms Tower. Samuel Morse, the inventor of the Morse code, once lived here, as did Charles Dickens. But it was here that Revelation TV had its beginnings. It was from here that Howard sat nervously in front of a camera as the countdown to go live sounded. On February the 14th, 2003, Revelation TV officially began broadcasting. Howard was able to move into the large industrial units on the first floor, where he was better able to realise his vision for a national Christian TV channel. There was enough room to have Christian bands and music shows, proper sets which didn't fall over. Within hours of Howard being scheduled to sign a contract on a standard industrial office just down the road, news came that the whole New Malden complex was available to rent. The music company had sadly gone out of business, leaving the way free for Revelation TV to take over the property. In April of 2008, Revelation TV moved into the premises and renamed it Genesis House. In 2008, we moved our head office to Spain and submitted ourselves under the Spanish licensing authority.
You know, often people will ask me, why did I start Revelation TV? And I would say, I didn't. It was something that God wanted to start.
Well, for me, the channel started 4 months before the launch date. All of a sudden, Howard was gone. He was gone day and night.
First of all, I had to have what is called an Ofcom license. And so I applied for an Ofcom license after much ado, and it came through, much to my disappointment, I'll be honest, that's the way it was. And then when that came through, then I set about trying to raise some money.
Who on earth would start a channel? If you're not a businessman, if you're not an investor or a millionaire, you would never go ahead and start a channel. But Howard said to me, do you know what? there's no one ready to invest. He said, it's you and I, Les.
So I said, okay, to Leslie, let's remortgage this house.
People say to me, when did you hear from God that you were called to Christian TV? I said, I never did. I didn't hear from God because I wasn't particularly involved. But then as time went on, and I'm only talking a few weeks after the launch, I felt so sorry for Howard. He said more or less, we've run out of money.
This is one of the hardest things. I had to tell my wife, Leslie, that we could possibly lose our home.
We were fostering at the time, and I thought, well, maybe the Lord will move me into Revelation TV and I won't be fostering anymore. And on the very day that I started to get involved, 6 weeks after the channel had launched, I got a call from social services and said, could you take 4 more? And I just, oh, wow. And so we had 9 foster children, 4 children of our own. And I was literally answering the phones in my living room, which was a makeshift office. I had a baby tucked under one arm, a toddler wrapped around my leg, knowing I had to do a school run. But we worked together. We worked day and night. And I didn't really fear that we would lose our home, although I knew, of course, that was on the cards, because God spoke to Howard about starting Christian television channel, and I knew that if God had spoken to Howard, then God would be at the helm.
Apart from Leslie, also who got stuck in, I got a phone call.
Well, it was a stilted conversation that I had with Howard. I didn't know who he was and he didn't know who I was. But at the end of it, I did agree that the next time I was in London, that I would go and visit him and we could talk and see how God might work things out.
We went to their home in Surbiton and we saw this couple we'd never met before, and they outlined a vision for a television station, and I thought, wow, Gordon, what are we getting ourselves into?
I never imagined that the TV station would grow as it has. I thought I was getting involved with a small charity when it began.
So what happened next is that day by day, money was coming in from the viewers. It was starting to really pick up.
If you ask me about money, I'm fine. But if you ask me about graphic machines and edit suites and all getting the picture quality right and the sound, they're all things that I've had to dramatically learn.
I suppose the biggest challenge is that in television, you have to have expensive equipment. You know, cameras, lights, and then the studios as well.
Over the years, every time we've had a need, every time we've shared with the viewers, then the Lord in the most amazing way has touched people and the finances have been met.
It was just very clear one day. He said, I want you to leave London, I want you to get out of London with the studio, and I want you to get out of debt. There was 2 things there. And I said to the Lord, well, I know how to get out of London because we could come here to our home, which we did, but I didn't know how to get out of debt. So within, a couple of years of being here, we were out of debt.
We had the whole of the Revelation TV in the house. We had the schedulers up in one of the bedrooms. The wardrobe was a makeshift tape storage unit. We had the office staff in the front room. I mean, it was absolutely crawling with people, and of course, we were having to live there.
What became available was an opportunity to move into this huge studio premises not too far from here in New Malden. And it meant that we had 10,000 square feet, proper high ceilings, proper offices and everything. It was a bit dilapidated, but we had a peppercorn rent to pay, and we were there on a temporary basis.
And the time came, of course, where the owners, the landlords, took the studio back from us, and we came to Spain.
We had to go to Spain because we needed to get out from Ofcom.
And we were absolutely grateful to God for this studio, an underground car park, but it's not ideal.
And it was all right in the very early stages, but as the studio grew, so did the staff, and there wasn't enough space, so we had to go and rent separate accommodation or office space for the staff.
So once again, we got together as a team and we sought God as to what the next step should be.
And so I approached the viewers one day and said, how about having our own studio?
And we were excited at the response they gave us. They showed they were standing with us for the new studio.
By having our own studios that were purpose-built, we can actually say what we want, what would be ideal for the channel. Remember, we're a 24-hour channel, 365 days a year, so we need to be making programs, not just the live ones, but simultaneously, as live is going out, making pre-records.
Edit suites, post-production facilities.
Rooms for offices where we could be united together as a team.
All under one roof would be great.
And also to be having an audience and going back to having musicians in the studios as well.
Well, in the midst of all this, the Charity Commission got in touch and they announced investigation. I was shocked. We were all shocked. I guess I see myself as the money person within Revelation TV, and therefore if there was money missing, then the finger was pointing very much at myself.
Initially I felt so sorry for Gordon and Lorna, and particularly Gordon, because out of all the people that have helped us over the years and have spent more time on Revelation TV than their own business, was like a slap in the face to them.
But I knew the truth, and the rest of us on the staff did. We tried to say to the Charity Commission, why don't you do all of your investigations, but don't go public? They insisted to put out a press release. It spoke about fraudulent activity. It spoke about misappropriation of funds. They were serious matters.
I'm a great believer in prayer, and I knew God would come through for us because he is the God of the breakthrough.
We as a TV station know that we're innocent of the charges against us, but it's another fact to be able to prove that, and that's what we're seeking to do at this moment of time.
We took the initiative to go live and explain it and be vulnerable and be before our viewers.
There was a right for viewers to be concerned, because there is always a danger if an official body says something, there must be some truth in it. And yet viewers showed that they'd seen enough and believed enough in Revelation TV and those who run Revelation TV and the presenters to know that we're men and women of God, and we wouldn't dare do anything in our work to a holy God which in any way was going to compromise his work. And so they stood with us.
What was amazing, apart from the fact that more support came in for the general fund than ever before during this period, and at the same time the building fund, although we weren't pushing it because we'd sort of almost had the rug pulled beneath us and we'd lost a little bit of the verve, if you like, to continue with the building fund, but the money kept coming in. So it was like, hang on a sec, God's doing something here.
I was just praising God that despite the shadow of the Charity Commission investigation, we were on track. The viewers were behind us, and we really started to feel that this studio would happen. The building would be built.
As much a surprise to any of us, that day arrived where the money had come in to achieve phase one, which was to buy the land.
We went live on air in a programme, shared the vision, and we've already said the viewers' response was the most amazing response that we could imagine. We talked in that programme about a possible piece of land that the studio could be built on. It turned out that piece of land wasn't right, and we didn't proceed with it. And so we eventually found another piece of land that we felt was the right one. At that point, the Charity Commission came back and said, oh, wait a minute, this might be a failed appeal. Whatever do you mean, we said? Well, they said, you appeal for money for the first piece of land. If you're not going to build on that one, we're not sure that you can use the money for the second piece of land.
We fought against the failed appeal, and it was overturned, and we bought the land.
And what we're sensing now is God has said, it's time for you to put your roots down. It's time for you to have a place of your own.
We're now going to have a proper facility and make professional looking programs with great content, having the security of not being told to move on.
I very much see God in this. The plans have been drawn up, we've got the land, the money is coming in for phase 2, which is the building of the building.
I see the new studio as a future for the next generation, so that they will be able to tell their children, their grandchildren, the good news of Jesus.
You know, I have to say a really big thank you, and I mean this most sincerely, to all of our viewers that have stood with us through these difficult times. It's a little bit like a film in that it has an intro where things a little bit sticky, story goes on, it's great, we improve, but there's a few really big bad bits in the film, and this is what's been the story of the growth of Revelation TV, against all the odds, against even the false accusations that have been made, and yet our viewers, as I say, who have been really discerning, but also at the same time have been faithful in supporting in prayer and in finances to make this a reality, to make a big difference to Christian television, especially for the United Kingdom. God called me, as it were, to the English-speaking audiences, and so I thank you all for standing with us, and especially for being here today.
Well, that was just a little glimpse of the last 21 years and some of the things that have been happening in the different studios that Revelation has been in and the journey that we've been on. And of course, the Charity Commission, it started in 2014, it finished in 2020. And the amazing thing, Howard, is since 2020, I don't think we've heard from them, apart from just filing each year our accounts and our trustees' minutes. Yeah. That's the end of it. They've never been back. I think they in fact, they said...
I know what you're going to say, because that's exactly gone, the words that
they said, if you have an investigation like you're going to have, then nobody at the end of it will be able to point the finger at you, because we'll have been through everything and know that you're squeaky clean.
I said, all very well, you're saying that, but it was quite horrible to have to go through it. And the depression I had was just incredible, and it was really hot. Anyway, thank God we came through. But the thing is that the accusations that were made against us were false, and that's what annoyed me really, basically, about the Charity Commission going live at the beginning and saying we were, a bunch of crooks without examining our books. That was the annoying thing. I think very irresponsible of them, to be honest. But anyway, it didn't do the harm against Revelation TV that they thought it would.
No, and we're still here. I was looking up tonight before I came on just what the world was like in 2023 on the 14th of December. And the country was preparing for war, because Saddam Hussein was still in Iraq, and the whole dossier had been prepared, whether there were weapons of mass destruction. And I thought how similar it is to the world in which we live in today. And it was in that environment that you launched, and you had no idea. And here we are 21 years later, still proclaiming the message.
So what I want to do next is take you through, some of the vision that we have for the future, and what is the future? What is Revelation TV going to do? And I thought, we would start really, I suppose, with the new building that's in Spain. And it's taken 10 years to finish the RIC, as we call it. And what's that stand for, RIC?
Revelation International Centre.
Yeah, it's an amazing building. It really is. But it's been a long journey, because I remember saying to Fran, the architect and builder, around about 5 years in, I said, how long do you want me to live, Fran? If this has taken 5 years this far, and at that stage I never had any idea it was going to go 10 years to build the studio.
Well, it was in 2014 you had the vision. And it took us 3 years in order to find the land, buy the land, raise the finance. So the as they say, what do they say? The first digging of the ground up was 2017. But then, of course, we didn't know that things like COVID were going to come on.
Exactly, yeah.
Brexit was going to come.
Yeah. So what does this actually mean? I thought I'd just made a few notes here, and I thought I'd just say that what Brexit meant to us, it did hold us up. You'll see some members of the team as well while I'm reading my notes. So that was a little cue, wasn't it? But we had SEVA our office manager at the time, had to return to the UK due to Spanish tax complications that she was having. And obviously her husband, Hugh Jackman, returned to the UK as well. Ian Bell was another member of the team and his wife, who sadly passed away just a few days ago.
Last Friday. Last Friday.
Yeah. And God be there with Ian. But Ian Bell came back. Simone, she's back in the UK. Lawrence and Benji Bell and his wife as well. They've come back to the UK. Sylvia, Yemi's wife, left us just a couple of months ago, and we're trying very hard to replace her there in Spain, but we couldn't find anyone. And Gordon, I think we were trying very hard to find somebody. Why was it that we couldn't get anybody to replace her in Spain?
Well, our difficulty was that the Spanish authorities have said it had to be someone. We had to try first of all to find somebody in Spain to do it. And the majority of people in Spain are Spanish speakers, and we wanted an English-speaking person. And so that was where the main crux of the person came, of the difficulty.
We did interview a couple of people, but I think one of them dropped out after a while, you know, in the sense that it didn't come back for a second interview and things like that. But it was really, really hard to find the right person. And but we thank Sylvia that she'd been with us for so long, but she was she left, and she's doing well, I believe. She's got a nice little business going there on the side. So what else? You know, we've got now in the UK replacements for the people that we need, especially Lorraine now has taken Jenny's.
Yes, I mean the office. We had the office in Spain.
Excuse me.
And we kept our office for our post and everything in Sutton Coldfield. But what we've found is that although we still have somebody in Spain working in the office, the main office now is in the UK.
Yeah, and it's easier to get people, isn't it? You know, we've got 2 people already, whereas we couldn't find anybody in that 2-month period that we were looking. So, and then the other thing to consider is, what is the difference between people who are trying to come into the studios as well? Do you want to read some of the notes on that?
Yes, I mean, really what you're saying, Howard, is we're struggling a little bit to say we've got this fantastic building that the Lord has given us. We acknowledge quite clearly that it was God directed to do that. But now we're saying, what really is the purpose of that building? It's doing programs every day. It's doing things like our mornings. It's doing Prayer Time Live. Nikki does a program from there, which is Impact Live, and all those different things. But on the other hand, we're beginning to see an increase of programs in the UK. And so we've got a dilemma, and that's really what we're trying. And as we talk about the vision for the future, it's saying, no, what really is the vision that the God has given for us? He's given us this building. We want to use it in the way that God wants to use it. But at the same time, we're here. And when it gets to like later in the year election time, we're not going to be able to get politicians who go over to Spain. The politicians want somewhere here in London.
And the embassy staff, especially from Israel, the likes of that. London, it seems to be the key place really for getting guests, and especially at a moment's notice, or especially if there's something breaking the news, Tim, isn't it? You get that too.
Yeah. Also face to face, I could never. It's hard enough to get people actually from around the UK to London, but to get them across to Spain would be a bit too far,
even too much for that.
Yeah.
And of course, the other thing that we looked at was the costs. You did that only just a couple of weeks ago. You actually did the figures. How did that look? Because we've got. Well, I'll let you say it, because otherwise I'm speaking all the time.
That's all right. No. We have a budget. Folks who watch Revelation TV regularly will know that we need around £150,000–160,000 every month, which means it's about 1.8 million that we need in a full year. And because in Spain we have a large building, therefore the costs connected with that are greater. We have to have somebody out there who is full-time in terms of what you call a janitor, a caretaker, the cleaner, the looking after of the building. And so we've been lopsided in the sense that the costs of Spain have been greater than the costs of the UK, and yet we've been finding gradually over particularly this last year, that there's more work going on in the studios here in the UK than there is in Spain. And it's trying to say, look, what are you saying? How do we work that out?
Yeah, and the other thing is, believe it or not, we as management are not allowed to be working in Spain unless we have...
I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it?
Yeah, we're like the 90-Day Fiancé. I don't know whether you've ever watched that programme, but
Howard.
Sorry, yeah. Well, our wives watch it, come on, every now and again, because it's quite a laugh, isn't it? But in fact, Leslie was 2 days over the 90 days when she went through a couple of months ago. And the man who stamps the passport, he said, "You're 2 days over."
Oh no!
And and she had the grandchild. We had little Andre, Rebecca's son, and he had a bit of sense of humour, and he said, "Run." But I mean, it is scary that you could actually overstay your welcome as well.
Yeah. Perhaps we should just explain to folks that because of Brexit. If you have a British passport, you only are allowed to be in Spain 180 days a year out of 365.
But only 90 days at a time, which is 3 months.
That's right. And we keep saying to the Spanish authorities, how are we supposed to manage a team when we're not allowed to be there? But the things come up. I mean, Tim, you have a business, and you need to be around to direct your staff, to give them pointers, to discipline, to meet important guests, and we're not allowed.
I mean, I put it the other way. It's just amazing what you've achieved. Yeah. Really, when you think about this, the logistical challenges, it is superhuman, really.
But we are getting old, and this is, sorry, it's quite obvious to many people. Gordon's got a grey head. I have. Leslie's working on it. Lorna's probably got one as well, but just that she's a lady, so she wouldn't be showing it. But I'm getting to be 78 in a few weeks' time. Lorna's even a little bit older than me, I may say. I shouldn't tell anybody. But Gordon, you're only a year behind me. What is the future with us oldies? And again, we can't even go to Spain to be there in the way that we used to before Brexit.
No. I mean, we need to say to viewers tonight, Howard, we haven't got any answers. What we're doing is we're really just sharing our heart, because the verse which Tim gave us was talking about vision, write the vision down. The video that you just saw before was talking about the vision of Revelation, which has taken us to 21 years. And I think what we're saying, like the four of us met last night, and we said, no.
What's the next 21 years?
That's right. Yeah. Where are we going? Yeah. How are we directing it? And we need prayer. We need folks to say we're going to stand with the TV station. People say, they want us to continue. We want to continue. But it's what way do we do it? How's the vision for moving forward?
On practical, looking at it from a practical point of view, I've got two things that I'm trying to do at the moment, Gordon, and that is to reach out to Christian organisations who are in the film business, making films, and they might be able to come to Spain and use our studios. We're in talks with some of the organisations now, and if they could rent a space from us, that would help to offset some of the costs as well, and make it a reason, and a valid reason, for having the studios in Spain. And the other thing is, what we need to look at is perhaps commercial, as long as they're not salacious, they're genuine film companies, TV companies. Maybe they want to do an advert with a car or something like that. That we could rent studio space to them. We need to look at ways of covering the costs, because it's taken us 10 years to get electricity in that place. I mean, you wouldn't do that here. You wouldn't have a problem here with electricity. 10 years. Come on. I mean, but Spain has a lot of peculiarities.
How in January they connected it?
In January, yeah.
January
That's
time. So it's in now. We haven't got our opening license.
No.
But that's still to come. I mean, it hasn't taken us 10 years because we didn't have the building 10 years ago.
No,
but since we opened, what we've run is on a temporary electricity supply because we've been waiting for the proper firm to come along.
Yeah, and we have some big bangs and bumps along the way because we've overstepped our usage and things like that. And we have a generator up there which is having to run on diesel. You know, it's a bit hokey dokey, but it's taken this long because the red tape thing in Spain is something else. You know, anyway, it is what it is, but we're getting there. So if we can actually find a way, and we're saying this to our viewers, especially our supporters, that this is what we're trying to do, is to make Spain continue into the future, but to be of use, ideally to other Christian organisations in the film and television industry. So that's what I'm hoping. And
if I could make a comment, aside from the logistics, the content is excellent. And that's why Revelation is now 21 years old, is because unbelievably 24/7, night and day, as you put on your little sketch there, that there's content and people are watching the content. And so it's actually the Lord's problem, funnily enough.
Well, I'm reminded.
You know, He gave the vision, and He provides for every generation. So it's not, He says, don't worry about, I haven't got any of the weight on my shoulders, but He says, don't worry about tomorrow.
Yeah, there's enough evil for today.
But of course, you know, be responsible before Him.
Yeah.
But then you need to know the direction that the Lord is taking you in.
Definitely.
And I think that is what we're saying. Lord, what is that direction? What is the vision? Is it? I mean, we've got staff in Spain, they're producing excellent programs and people are seeing them every day. But is Spain, has the Lord given us Spain in order that it can create finance for the channel, which means we have to be less dependent on the viewers, and that's a way of keeping the TV station going. That is one argument, and we're saying, if that's right, Lord, then you open
and often
doors.
we don't know, do we? No. We're faithful with what's in front of us, and you were, and it's been proved, and the Lord's provided. But the Lord knows what's over the horizon. So there may be a completely new door that He's opening. Easy for me to say, but I believe that, and we know because it's 2,000 years since the church began. You know, the Lord's providing, and the sort of mainstream legacy churches are falling apart spiritually. So there's a great need for a church without walls that just sticks to the script. And that's creation, you know, Israel, the Lord's return, you know, basic things where you've been faithful.
One of the things that comes back to mind is the prophecies that I got in the beginning, way back in the beginning, even before I came back from America, were so encouraging because it gave me I suppose, the reason for actually going ahead with starting a Christian channel here in the UK. And what's my point, Howard? Okay, try and get to the point. I will. It was that the fact is that you've got such a lot more to do, I believe, that we can do together. We've been given openings to go into America, which is what we tried to do a long time ago, to go into the rest of Europe and including the Middle East. We've got opportunities to go into a lot of the Spanish-speaking countries, and we can actually have, as you probably saw, I can speak in Spanish. Now, all of the programs we do, we can actually have converted into a Spanish language with AI. It's just incredible.
That's worth going for. And also, the other thing you don't know what's around the corner, you mentioned COVID, we've had the Ukraine war, we've had October the 7th, and phenomenal programming from Simon. You know, it's as though the Lord's prepared him for that moment.
And that's a good point.
And it's not the last of it, sadly. There's some
That's right.
things
I mean,
ahead.
it would be interesting, Howard. We haven't asked for emails tonight,
But we could.
but and it would be interesting for viewers to say, as they look to the future as far as Revelation is concerned, what kind of vision do they see of how we should go? Because it would be interesting to know what
Good
we're
feedback.
certainly talking
Yeah.
about that all the
Very
time.
good. So live at revelationtv.com. There it is on your screen. You reminded me of something else
Didn't
here.
invite, but we've got 2 emails.
Okay, well that's
Shall I
good.
read them?
Yeah, give me a second. Only because what was I going to say? Well, you're talking about Simon's program. Here, just list some of the programs that we do here coming from our London studios. And our mornings, of course, and obviously that's shared as well with Spain. Simon Barrett's Middle East Report and Behind the Headlines, Politics Today, all done from the UK. Reagan's Bible Topics, Bible Study with Tim Vince and Derek Walker and John Campbell. I mean, that's such a popular and amazing program as well. Understanding the Scriptures is, right. You also do face-to-face, Tim. And Gordon, you and Lorna do Church Without Walls. Mainly, you do that here in the UK as well. And then you've got Pam's Prayer Time Live, Persecuted Church you do as well. Who's that?
Andrew Boyd.
That's right, yeah. And also Ann Dawson, and she does the Journey of the Feasts, and the Persecuted Church, as you were saying. Also, Journey Through the Feast, as I say, with Nan Dawson. But we do Testimony Time, you do interviews. Now, we do programs. What are the programs we do in Spain, just to remind the folks?
Well, people like Nikki do Impact program. Yemi and Sylvia do Twilight Zone, and then every day, second hour is done with VR Mornings. Some of the Prayer Time Lives are done from there. Testimony Times are done. There's a good number of programs that are being done from there as well.
Also, we're looking to do Asia in Focus, as I said. I might have said that earlier, which is coming back with Pam and Safra, so that would be good. There'd be music there as well. The Indian music, keep taking the tablas. Sorry.
Pakistani, Howard.
Is it Pakistani?
Pakistani music.
What did I say?
You said Indian.
Okay, wow, it's close. Anyway, so there's an amazing amount of programs that are done. But we want, and we are needing to have, we've got one studio here, which is a green screen studio, means that we can do all the programming from this one room, but we want another studio that has normal sets so that we can actually get people in to do talking heads. I also want to do Voice in the Wilderness. Yemi does a great job, Voice in the Wilderness over in Spain, but we need, and I believe as times get really harder and more people are getting challenged, and especially with their, the mental side of people's life is in need of support. And I think spiritually speaking, that can deal with the mental side of people. And we need to actually do that through Voice in the
And to
Wilderness.
do all those things, we need our team, and particularly our presenters. And this is where the challenge of Spain is facing us at this moment of time, because recruiting new presenters for Spain is proving difficult because of Brexit, because of the tax implications, residential over there. Whereas in the London area, we've got a greater big pool to go for. And so people are coming in, like Reagan comes in, he's a pastor in the centre of London. And so that allows us to also grow more here.
Yeah, it takes usually people, if they're coming from central London, it's 15 minutes on a train, on a fast train, which is fantastic,
Yes.
Again, all of these are little, sort of to understand the bigger picture. So we'd like to hear from you, live at revelationtv.com.
Shall I read a few?
Yeah.
Okay, from Adam and Noah, be encouraged, keep going. You're sowing eternal seeds. God has brought you this far and he will continue to fulfill his purpose. Norman says, good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for your honesty this evening. Would there be any value in selling the building in Spain and opening a better studio in London? You need to think of yourselves more and your family and less travelling to Spain, especially when it's so difficult these days. Less green screen, please, from Norman.
Oh, there's some good points there.
How would you know it's green screen? It's such good graphics.
That's true, but it is a bit the same Yeah, you know, and I think having a normal set, like a little news set, a little podcast set, and in the natural environment, and we're looking at that, and we're hoping now to be able to do that in the next couple of months. Gordon.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you, Noah, and you know, I just really appreciate your encouraging WhatsApps that I get from you as well.
But we can't neglect Spain. I think that somebody said don't travel. We can't, and so Lorna and I are going the end of next week. You're going the week after, and it's important we're there because people need encouragement. People need support.
I mean, the second email did say what about consider selling. I mean, that is an option, but we're trying to see that if God wants us to continue to use Spain, then it would. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do our utmost to make that happen.
It's not. Oh, it's come through. Great, Ian. It was sort of doing a whirly.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Sorry. Hi, Gordon, Tim, and Howard. While listening to your story of Revelation TV, I was reminded of the Holy Scripture in Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. Furthermore, I do strongly believe Revelation TV is a must for Christians now more than ever, for we need a Christian voice on air to combat all the evil propaganda on mainstream TV. Finally, I'd love to see Revelation TV have more live events in the UK so I could come along and meet you all in person, especially my friend Pastor Yemi. To finish, I would love to see a pro-life programme be aired on Revelation TV. For only EWTN have one called Pro-Life Weekly. It will be amazing to have one from an evangelical background. God bless you all, from Ian.
Oh, thanks, Ian. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, that's the kind of comments we need to get.
It is good. I should have added that to my list. I think it's really important. Deborah says, amazing to think Revelation is 21 years old. I pray the Lord will guide you all. It's the Lord's building, a ministry. We, of course, walk by faith, but pray that the Lord will speak clearly. We are surely in the last days, need the Lord to give wisdom as to other something than the Revelation TV, as a Revelation team who uses the Spanish building, the making of programs, etc., with love and prayers. Judith?
Thanks, Judith.
Good evening. So that was Deborah.
Deborah, sorry.
I like it when people call me Vince. Howard, Gordon and Vince, she said. And then good evening, Gordon, Tim and Howard. Could I make a suggestion that you offer the large studio to a pastor minister for Sunday services to take place, and perhaps multiple ministries could use the studio each Sunday and pay for the services? This would bring in revenue for the janitor and the channel. Also, because I'm Northern Irish, I can have a British and Irish passport, which might help you to find a manager for Spain in the future. That's a good point, actually. If you're from Northern Ireland, you can get a European passport.
We have done a few services from Spain on the Sundays as well, and even some of the carol services we did with different pastors from the local. They can't really afford to actually.
It's big bucks, isn't it?
You know, we've done it with. I think we've done it for nothing, but we can't continue to do that because the cost of electricity alone, and then the staff and everything else is very, very expensive. Well, it's not cheap, but we're not dear. We just need to be able to pay our way, and unfortunately, I can't see that happening. We've tried it, and it just doesn't work financially.
And this is what I suppose. Christian ministries don't sort of bare their souls, and in a sense what we're doing tonight is bearing the soul. And you know, when we wrote...
Quite healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, many ministries don't have the blessing to be able to share.
To do it.
It's a wonderful thing.
That's right.
Something else that comes to mind there in Spain, what happened? Sorry, I interrupted you. Is that Spain, we're not allowed to have volunteers, and you can't have a church service without being a church, and we're a television studio. There are so many restrictions that it almost ties your hands behind your back. Okay, so that's...
And yet, when we wrote the book Broadcasting Christ, we said in it, Howard, you've had more prophecies that it's right back in 2009, 10, to go to Spain and to start the work in Spain. And it's trying to balance that up with what we can see with our eyes about the situation with Brexit and all the things that are happening at this moment of time, and saying, now, Lord, what are you saying? What are you saying? And that's where we need to...
What we're saying tonight, you know, what is what is the Lord saying? And we're getting some good
Yeah,
points
it's quite
coming across.
good.
Thank you.
Jean comments on what I said. So very true, Tim, in what you said, that the mainstream individual churches are failing. Just so you know, I'm 100% sure that I am growing spiritually and mindfully by listening to your channel. It totally feels that when reading His holy word that it's becoming so much deeper to me. It's so easy to listen and get in-depth meaning from yourselves on the simplicity and straightforwardness of your teaching on God's truth. Thank you for all you do, and blessings to each one of you. God goes before you and behind you. And then from Tony, evening gents, sell the Spanish studio. Keep our resources in the UK. You can always export programs to the Spanish. Let's get that extra studio here. Have a viewer vote. Oh no, that's what Elon Musk does. You don't know what. Support whatever you do anyway, says Tony.
Thank you.
Uchenna says, congratulations on your 21st anniversary. Your tenacity is simply superb. Have you thought about having a dedicated program for medical content? A platform where you could have doctors from a variety of specialties.
We've got
I heard you once
coming
had a GP.
Yeah, we did, Dr. Laura.
Yes.
But the thing is, what you have to be careful with is having everything you've got to say, contact your doctor before you do this or this or that. Everybody has to, sort of qualify that you can't just follow our instructions that will come out of our TV station.
The programme Health in Focus was a brilliant programme that this particular doctor did. But on one particular day, somebody sent an email in and she responded to it on TV. The next thing was she was reported to the British Medical Council. And then she had to go through a whole saga.
Nearly lost her licence.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So but you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just any old TV station. It's a spiritual battlefield.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse, it's a reality.
I'm saying it with a smile.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
It is, but it's been like that. But it's par for the course. I mean, when you see what the disciples and Jesus Christ had to do in order to get through every day, I mean, they were like the Romans were on their back. The scribes and the Pharisees were on their back. Everywhere they went. I mean, they were making such an impact on their society with healing the sick and all of that and raising the dead. My goodness. What would that do today? It would really upset people. You can't even pray for people silently outside an abortion clinic. Our prayers are so powerful, they don't even want them to be said.
Yeah, exactly, to our non-existent God.
Yeah.
Jackie says, good evening, my Revelation brothers. Living in London, I would certainly love to be able to attend shows as I was not able to travel to Spain. Have you thought about fundraising for a new London studio?
No.
We haven't thought about it, but we are in need of it, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Right, so yeah. But these are the things all to do with the future. And, we'll maybe put something together about what we're trying to do, which is here in London,
Louisa writes, did Rev go to Spain because of all the complaints Rev was constantly having to justify what was being said on air? Also, I thought the vision was for Christian music groups, etc., to use the space in Spain. What about to invite local churches to use the premises, which we've discussed? Much prayer will be needed for this. The Lord will...
Yeah, because they pay the tax there.
Yeah.
We can't stay there because we choose to be in England, because that's where we have to be most of the time. So I gave up my residencia, and the problem of having a residencia is your worldwide goods and your whatever you own. It is so complicated. That's why Siva came back, because she had her own house, but she rented it out, and the tax man wanted in Spain. He wanted all of that.
Everybody has to decide where they pay their taxes.
Yeah, and where they live.
We've chose that our taxes would be paid in the UK, and because of that, we're not allowed to be in Spain more than 90 days at a time.
But of course, that didn't all come up until Brexit. So it's Brexit changed the whole scene altogether. That's
really from 2012. In fact, for you, from 2010, we were more or less resident in Spain.
Yeah.
And that was fine. We could do that, but Brexit has changed that.
Yeah,
and the Lord knows. I mean, Brexit didn't take the Lord by surprise.
No. Just took us by surprise.
Yes, and so now it's saying, well, right, we're trying to.
It was sort of vindictive of the EU. There was a vindictive element because Britain voted you know, which was their right to leave.
Yeah.
They thought, right, we're going to get you.
Yeah, I've noticed even when I go into the EU, not necessarily Spain, I had to go into Amsterdam to a TV broadcast show, and they give you a hard time there.
You're second-class citizens when you
Yeah.
go through the passport checks, because I'm often with Simone. And,
Yeah, so you have to wait longer.
She gets Rolls-Royce treatment, and and I'm just, she's laughing her head off at me. But it isn't. It's petty, really, isn't it? It's petty.
Well, that's Gordon.
That's true.
So,
That's quite all right.
ta-da.
Joan writes, blessings to you all. What a wonderful work you have been doing through Rev TV and serving God in these days. I love Habakkuk. Such a blessing to encourage us not to be concerned about the future or be afraid. The good work God has started through Rev TV, he will bring to completion. Keep trusting God and follow his leading as you have been doing, and he will work all things together for good. Habakkuk 1 verse 5, the Lord's reply. Look among the nations and watch, be utterly astounded, for I will work a work in your days which you would not believe, though it were told you. Amen and amen. Blessings from your sister in Christ, Joan. Got a few more texts, but
Yeah, go on.
shall I keep going?
Yeah.
Mark writes, you've been faithful to the leading of the Spirit of God, and he is faithful and never lets us down. He has opened the door for his work through Rev TV and will bring the growth and vision. Happy birthday. Les, good evening. Howard Gordon and Tim. It doesn't seem like you are getting the most out of the new studio, and lots of the shows look the same over there. I really miss the days of the Genesis House studios where you did a lot of different programs and had live audiences. Yes. Sandra, we so need Voice in the Wilderness back nightly. It was always my go-to show at the end of a hard day.
Yeah. Well, I'm planning to do that, God willing. And I want to be there as many nights as I can, Yeah.
Tim, we're in almost the last minute of a programme. Why don't you just remind us of those words at the end of Habakkuk?
Well, and then be no herd in the stall, following on from what I said before. But it says, yet will I rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. God, the Lord, is my strength.
And that's even if the fig tree doesn't blossom
Exactly.
and the trees
And
don't.
everything, there's no outward sign to trust in God, and you trust in him. And you rejoice in him.
Yeah, and I think because we're entering such a difficult time in the world and possibly facing World War III and all of that, we have our trust is in the Lord, and he will make a way for us to go as far